Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and members. I voted yes to suspend the rules because I supported and I support Governor Dayton's statesmanship and courage to come up with a compromise to end this shutdown and get Minnesota back to work. However, I do not support the Republican tax bill that we have before us right now. I can't support the bill. It raises our debt. It borrows from our kids and our future. It kicks the can down the road, and it pushes huge property taxes onto the backs of senior citizens, our families, our farmers, and our small businesses. And we had another option here. Governor Mark Dayton presented a balanced budget with progressive revenue that added no new debt and no new property taxes. He protected our future and he protected our property taxpayers. But even in this bill, with all of the shifts and all of the borrowing and all of the gimmicks, next year, even with all of these tricks, next year, this Republican tax bill gives us a $2 billion deficit in the next biennium. $2 billion deficit in the next biennium, and that doesn't include another $2.5 billion of the school shifts. So this plan right here, this budget, creates a $4.5 billion problem into the next biennium. $4.5 billion. And I thought this year we were going to solve the budget straight up. But instead of asking the wealthiest of Minnesotans to pay, we sent a bill to our kids. That's what we did. And, you know, when you look at this, and you look at all the debt into the future and all the borrowing into the future, all I can say is we're making promises we can't keep with money we don't have. Members, we're making promises we can't keep with money we don't have. In fact, we should have a debt ticker going. I mean, today I'm wondering if I'm in Washington, D.C. or St. Paul. This is what's happening in Washington, D.C. Raise the debt, pass the debt, borrow into the future, put it on the shoulders of our kids and their future. That's what we're doing with this. And you know, instead of asking the wealthiest of the wealthiest in Minnesota to pay to create a fair tax system so we're all paying roughly the same amount that Governor Dayton wanted to do, instead we're going to cut over $600 million in property tax aids and credits that will raise property taxes in the next year, according to nonpartisan research, $376 million. $376 million of increased property taxes on top of the $3.5 billion that we've increased in the last 8 years. And we're talking about our small businesses and our job creators, and there's already a little bit of discussion on that. If you look at the statistics here, nonpartisan research, in this tax bill will push property taxes up on businesses by over $100 million. Members, an increase of property taxes of $100 million on our businesses. And Representative Loon correctly mentions there is $30 million of property tax refund increases. And that's good. But we're putting on $376 million and then giving back $30 million. That's putting on a property tax increase of $1 and giving 8 cents back on a refund. It's not a good deal. Huge property tax increases. And why is that? One of the things we're doing in this tax bill, one of the things the majority is doing in this tax bill is entirely eliminating the market value homestead credit. Totally eliminating that. That has been a cherished tradition for homeowners for over 4 decades in this state. We are eliminating that homestead credit that will raise property taxes. And rural members, 64% of those dollars that go to cities and counties on the market value homestead credit, 64% will be cut out of rural Minnesota. When you look at local government aid, you're going to have a $200 million cut to the great equalizer, to the lifeblood of many of our cities, especially in rural Minnesota, around this state. And the permanent funding level for local government aid, unbelievably, is going to be lower than the amount that was there in 2003 after a $150 million cut to local government aid. This amount into the future will be lower than what it was in 2003. And when you look further at things, because I know there's been a lot of talk about this doesn't hit rural Minnesota too hard, but in the cities and counties between local government aid and market value homestead credit, $185 million each year of permanent cuts. $185 million. Counties, metro and rural Minnesota, will be cut 51% of their aid in this Republican bill. Representative Ann Zelk reminds me that it's even a double hit in many of the northern areas of the state because they are even more property poor because so much of their land and property is in public domain and tax exempt. So when we talk about $367 million of property tax increases, that's only half of it. The other half has to be made up by our local units of government through cuts or diminishing important services like law enforcement. This, make no mistake about it, is going to hit communities throughout this state. We've got the renter's credit. Now, it's better than it was, but it's still going to impact over 81,000 senior citizens in this state to an average tune of $84. Now, you might say $84 isn't an awful lot, but think about the choice that was made. Instead of asking the wealthiest of the wealthiest, a millionaire in Minnesota, as Governor Dayton wanted, to raise just one dime, but instead of asking them to raise their taxes one dime, the majority is going to send an $84 tax bill to a senior citizen renter. That's the choices that have been made here. And this tax bill adds to the debt, it adds to the deficit, and it adds to the property tax bills around this state. And Governor Mark Dayton, his plan, his balanced progressive revenue plan, invested in children and their future. This tax bill sends them a bill. This deserves a strong no vote.